We've been studying theories of human nature this semester, and what we've done thus far is we've taken a look at human nature from an Eastern perspective, Eastern religion and philosophy. We've taken a look at human nature from an ancient perspective. We read Plato and Aristotle, and we also took a look at church fathers like Augustine and what they would make of human nature. For today's lesson, we're going to pivot and try to understand, in part, how some modern political philosophers understood human nature. We're not going to take into account all of modern philosophy. We couldn't possibly do that in a class. But we are going to take a look at the thinking of four individuals who are considered modern philosophers. The first is Thomas Hobbes. The second is Joseph Butler. The third is David Hume. And the fourth is Immanuel Kant. Each of these four authors have been selected by the author of this anthology with the hope that they can give us an understanding as to what happens in modern philosophy on the subject of human nature. Now, before we get into each of the individual lessons on Hobbes and Butler and Hume and Kant, I want to redirect your attention to another thinker. This thinker is often known as the father of modern politics, but I would argue, and this is definitely debatable, that he is also the father of modern metaphysics, the father of modern epistemology, and the father of modern ethics. That individual being the Italian thinker Niccolo Machiavelli. Machiavelli is known for many things. The expression that the ends justify the means, the expression that perception is reality. But I want to turn your attention to something very essential that he tells us about human nature. He tells us this throughout his prints, he tells us this throughout his discourses, and that is why we do what we do as human beings. Machiavelli points to two humors that define two different types of human beings. There's the humor of those who aspire toward greatness, those who would love to rule, those who want honor. Why do they do what they do? Why do princes do what they do? But then he turns to a second humor, the humor of the people, the humor of the multitude that just wants to be ruled well. He suggests that all of philosophy, all of politics is based on trying to make a peace between these two humors, those who would rule and those who would desire to be ruled well. Well, how do you achieve this peace in politics? How do you achieve this peace in philosophy? Well, you have to change the way that you understand metaphysics. And Machiavelli does this for us in chapter 15 of The Prince, where he famously says, let's give up on looking at the world, looking at who we are through the perspective of imagined republics and principalities. These things are imagined. They've never been seen. No one's ever seen the kingdom of God. No one's ever seen a republic ruled by a philosopher king. All of these dreams of Plato and the Gospels and so on, set them aside and deal with the world as it actually is. Because if we have these notions of some flowery world that can come to us through Christianity or philosophy, we're going to be tripped up by the reality of how men actually are. So very, very important. Machiavelli's metaphysics say, no longer look to the transcendent ought. Deal with the world of the immanent is. So what is that world of the immanent is? That world is an is of human beings that at the end of the day want happiness. They want material happiness. And they see the threats that abound to them, the threats from opposing armies that want to conquer them. They see the threats from disease. And they want to be ruled well so they can live well in this world. When we turn to Thomas Hobbes, when we turn to Joseph Butler, when we turn to David Hume and Immanuel Kant, each of these thinkers, if there's anything that ties them together, is this desire to present a theory of human nature where human beings want to be happy or to live well. We have to deal with who we are, but is there a way, understanding who we are, that we can tend toward happiness? That'll mean for Hobbes creating a Leviathan. That'll mean for Butler recognizing perhaps the conscience and shame can lead us in the right direction. That'll lead to Hume thinking that perhaps the right impressions upon us might lead us toward more virtuous activity, recognizing at the end of the day, like Kant, that philosophy ought to be moral. So these are the changes that take place as we move towards a modern conception of philosophy. We'll get more into the details as we move forward. Thank you.